one of the most maybe complex problems, or maybe not the most, but definitely up there, is actually identity and authentication. So I detailed this more in a post previously on my page earlier this week, or last week rather. But one of the things about BitClout that is extremely bad, it's built pretty horribly, is identity. It's kind of counterintuitive. And I actually had a very short conversation with maybe even about this after my post. And my issue with it is this. We're always told in the crypto space to store your seed phrase offline. Never put it in a Google Doc, on your notes app. Don't take a picture of it. Store it offline. Write it down on a piece of paper. Put it into like one of the little metal things you buy on Amazon and put it in a safe or something. But you're not supposed to store them online. And even though, sites like Coinbase allow you to store them in Google Drive encrypted, it's still not a good idea. And the same thing applies. So BitClout Identity stores your seed phrase in plain text. It's not even encrypted. It is stored in plain text right in your browser local storage. And this is one of the largest design flaws in a crypto product that I've ever seen, easily. And here's sort of why. So the browser, number one, your seed phrase is stored online, or not online, but on your machine in plain text. That's never a good idea in anywhere. To make it worse, though, it's stored in your browser, and the browser is the number one place that malware attacks. So if you install, malware on your machine, the number one place that it will target, in most cases, if it's good, is your browser. It'll take a huge data dump of all your browser data and send it off to some server. And the reason they do that is because, normally data like tokens for, maybe Twitter APIs and these things are stored there. And, your Discord account token and maybe not your bank credentials. Maybe sometimes you might have a cookie with them. And these things are stored in your browser. And that's why they attack your browser is for those reasons, to get that data. And so it's really, really easy to get a seed phrase when it's stored in plain text in a browser, which is targeted easily by malware. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. I think a much more viable solution is one that's more complex. Earlier, like I've been saying, complex problems require complex solutions. I think the problem here is that the BitClout core team took a complex problem, which is authentication, and made a simple solution. And I think it's horrible. I think it's really bad. It's hard for sites to implement. Developers have a ton of a shitty time implementing it because it's just bad. It's not built very well. On mobile apps, it's so insecure. Like, identity on iOS native applications is more insecure than just giving that app your seed phrase, which is crazy to me. And the reason for that is because if you use identity on a native app on iOS, it's stored in the browser in a web view where any other application could access it. Any other application can execute JS and access your seed phrase in plain text. It's not encrypted at all. And so, including the app you're using. So they have access to your full seed phrase with identity, which is extremely dangerous. And kind of defeats the purpose as well, right? Whereas if you just give that app your seed phrase and the app encrypts it and stores it in Keychain or some other place, which, by the way, is what the new Clout Feed update is doing, then only that app has your seed phrase and not every other app on your device. So it's so ironic to me how it's less secure to use the quote unquote official authentication method than to just give a random mobile app your seed phrase, right? Yep. So yeah, it's very poor.